Now, before we start, recently I got to know that there were two devotees who also come to the Dhamma talks also in this Zoom Dhamma talks, and they are down with COVID. And not only down with COVID, but right now they are also in the quarantine center. So this is a couple, and well, we wish them to recover as soon as possible. So for the rest of us, to remain vigilant. All right. So tonight we'll talk about the wisdom also, and this extension of the wisdom, it comes in as a clear comprehension. Now in the Visuddhimagga, it is mentioned that when you have wisdom, you must know where to plant it. That means that in the Visuddhimagga, it says what are the soil for you to plant the wisdom. That means your wisdom has to be properly directed in order for the enlightenment to take place. But then in the Visuddhimagga, it gave us a very wide selection. They talk about 5 aggregates. They talk about sense bases. Then you have faculties, indriya. Indriya here, not the 5 faculties. Here, the indriya faculties in the sense of eye faculty, ear faculty, nose faculty, and so on. And also dependent origination. All this, they give you a very wide subject, wide place where you can able to plant your wisdom into. But the thing is that when we do that in the practice, we will achieve nothing. Although they are correct, but when you want to start off with the practice, we cannot take all those things. Because it's impossible for a new yogi to take the 12 dependent origination. And to take all the sense bases and so on, it's impossible for a new meditator to take up those things. So in order for a new meditator, and also as we advance into the development, then all these 5 aggregates, sense bases, they will naturally, you become clear to you. But in the beginning part, they are not clear. So when they are not clear, you must know where to start off, where to exercise your wisdom. And therefore here the Buddha taught us sati and sampajanya. We start off with sati and sampajanya, and with that, a yogi can begin its development of the mindfulness, concentration, wisdom, and so on. Everything can able to advance. So that is important. That is really important. Because sometimes I do hear, that sometimes there are monks or there are nuns, they read a lot, they read, but then they want to meditate, they want to develop the mind. They straight away want to take up 12 dependent origination. I say, wait lah. I mean, I cannot tell them so much, because they may not have faith in you and or in me. Then it's difficult for them to able to understand. So when you want to begin, we begin with something much more simple that is effective and efficient to develop the mind. It take you a shorter time. It take you you can able to develop your mind deeper, more sustainable, insights easier for it to arise in that sense. Now, so we begin with that 4 foundation of mindfulness, because this in order for the enlightenment to take place, we have to begin with that four foundation of mindfulness. You cannot begin with seven factors of enlightenment on this and that. Don't worry about that. We start off with the four foundation of mindfulness. And with the four foundation of mindfulness, then you must have that sati and sampajanya. Then the sati and the wisdom factor. And that is crucial. So that day on Monday, I mentioned that this nature of wisdom is to able to discern, to able to discriminate, so that we can see the true nature of things as they are, or begin to see into its intrinsic nature. That is to say, into its real qualities and its real qualities, and therefore is connected to anicca, dukkha, anatta. So all these things, we need to direct the mind towards this path. Now, this sati and sampajanya, especially this sampajanya, it is also mentioned in the four foundation of mindfulness under rupa and under sampajanya as a heading. And that one, it covers everything in the sense that if you are standing, sitting, lying down, walking, you have to have clear comprehension. If you are eating, defecating, urinating, you have to have clear comprehension. If you are wearing your robes, whether you're wearing, undoing, for you all is your clothing and so on, must have clear comprehension. So it covers everything actually. And of course, the Buddha cannot able to finish covering, but that's the whole meaning of it, that you have to be alert, you have to be clear, and you have to be thorough in your noticing. So that covered that as at least in the beginning part. Now let us look into the clear comprehension a little bit more. Furthermore, let's look into I share the screen. All right, can you see Sati Sampajanya? Okay. Now, okay. In this Sati and Sampajanya, mindfulness and clear comprehension. Clear comprehension sometimes other authors, they translate it as clear awareness, a few other things, full awareness sometimes. So sometimes when you read different authors, they have different translation, but you have to make sure that you go back to at least on the Pali, to know exactly what it means. So sati sampajanya, mindfulness and clear comprehension. Usually I don't like to use the word awareness together with clear comprehension, because clear comprehension signify on the wisdom part, not on the mindfulness part already. But they both must come together. So let me say again, when mindfulness comes into your practice, not necessarily the clear comprehension comes together with it. But clear comprehension cannot come in if there's no mindfulness. So mindfulness, you need to have mindfulness in order to have clear comprehension. Therefore, you also need to know how to exercise the clear comprehension. Just like you know how to exercise the mindfulness, it's the same thing, you must know how to exercise the clear comprehension in order for both of them to come together. Now, in this sampajanya, sampajanya here is seeing or knowing or discerning rightly, entirely, and evenly. This is from the commentary. Rightly or correctly, entirely, evenly. This is all given by the commentaries of especially in the commentary in the Satipatthana Sutta. Seeing here means that this is not the eye seeing. This is the noting mind. The mind that penetrates, the mind that really pays attention to the object of this one. So rightly, in the sense that it has to have right object. You have to put their mind into a right object. You cannot have a wrong object and then expect that that particular type of wisdom to grow. So you have to have right object. Rightly in that sense, or correctly. That means you have to pay attention to the right object and not the wrong object. Entirely means that you have to see the nature of the object as best as you can. Entirely here, usually in the beginning part, you cannot see in a way entirely. You may see some aspect of the intrinsic nature is being presented to you. Say, for example, you notice a hardness that's happening in the body. You notice its hardness. You notice a hardness, then you notice a one side of earth element, perhaps. But on the another side of earth element, which is the softness of it, but this time is not presented to you, right? So whatever that is being given to you, you notice it completely clearly. So if next time you begin to notice that the hardness is like, oh, it's become harder, it becomes softer, it changes, then you begin to see its components more wider in that sense. Then as you go further into the meditation, further advanced, then the entirely becomes more and more for you to see. That is what it means entirely. It doesn't come at one go, but stages by stages, as it reveals in the insight knowledge, in that sense. Evenly, also it means that when you observe an object, you cannot be overstrain the mind. You cannot be under also. Under effort also. You cannot be over efforting on the sampajanya too. Although it is a wisdom, but it can create sometimes imbalances in the noting mind if one is not careful. Usually, this wisdom factor by themselves, they are not the problem. But because of your keep on noticing, keep on observing, the background is the effort. Effort can become too much. It can become too much and become to heat up the whole noting. And then after that, if you don't cool it down, then the whole mind goes into tension. It goes into problem. It goes into a lot of thinking instead of paying attention. So here it means that sampajanya, sati sampajanya, when your noting is going well, you can see your objects clearly and how it rises, passes away, or you can see the rising, falling, you can see the in-breath, out-breath, you can see fairly clear to you, Then that means that they are at the optimum level. Then the optimum level, that means you don't go and disturb it, just keep on noting it. That means that time it is at even, you are at an even noting mind in a sense. So that time you don't disturb it. You just keep on noticing further and further. But the thing is that this sampajanya and sati also, they are not permanent. As usual, as all things, they will start to fluctuate, they will start to change and so on. At that time, you must have the skill in order to develop the mind, in order to push the mind back, in order for it to come into optimum level. Or if you're too hard, you must know how to cool the mind in order for it to come into the optimum level. Perhaps later in the other talks we will talk about that. So here you see it rightly, you see it evenly, you see it entirely, you see it evenly. Now, further going into the practice itself, well, this 1, 2, 3, 4, it's also with comment. It is also derived from the commentary, but this one is a very useful tool, useful understanding in order for us to practice. Not only just during in a retreat or during while you are meditating, but these 4 also, you can exercise them in your everyday life. That means as much as you must know how to be mindful in your everyday life, or how to create or develop metta in your everyday life, then also it is as important is that you develop the wisdom in your everyday life. And he got technique for us to do it. And one of the ways is to use this sampajanya. So more or less, I'm going to talk about this, the 4 part of it is from everyday perspective and also while we are during the practice, the actual practice. Yeah. So there are 4 parts of it. Yeah. One is the purpose or the beneficial part of the sampajanya, sattaka sampajanya. Then you have suitability or sapaya sampajanya, domain, resort, gochara sampajanya. 4 is the non-delusion, asammoha sampajanya. Now let's look at number 1. Number 1 here is the purpose, is the benefit. Basically, purpose here or benefit here, make it start off with something simple. You see a wholesome deed and you see an unwholesome deed. Can your mind able to differentiate it? Then if your mind can differentiate it, that means your mind is able to exercise some degree of wisdom in everyday life. Now sometimes we take for granted these things that we think that, oh, killing is unwholesome, non-killing is wholesome, or abstinence from killing is wholesome. For you, you can do it now. For a lot of people in the world, they cannot do it now. They have a lot of all kinds of thinking and all kinds of thoughts. Just like, for example, nowadays with the mask itself, you tell them that the mask is really important. Then yesterday I begin to see in the news, there are people in USA, they start burning the mask already. Oh, they thought that it's over. You can differentiate what all these things, what is helpful, what is this one to you. So this is something in our everyday life. The wisdom that you may have does not mean everybody have it. Even some common sense that you may have doesn't mean everybody have it. So it's something that you have to exercise, or something that you have done it in your past that you bring over in this life, that you can able to see things a little bit more clearly in that sense. So it has to do with some degree of discerning what is wholesome and what is unwholesome, what is beneficial to you, what is not beneficial to you. This is not intelligence, this is not just intelligence. A lot of people are very intelligent, but because of their intelligence, they can have malpractice, in the sense that you may be a doctor, but because of your greed and so on, you want to overcharge, and then what is not able to diagnose, you want to diagnose it. You thought that this, then people again, like now I've heard that that patient doesn't have a cancer, but the doctors reveal that he has a cancer. Once he reveals that he has a cancer, then when he goes into all the chemotherapy and so on, then it is a lot of money. If you are in a private hospital or if you are insurance and so on, there's a lot of money. Then underlying it is all about greed. It's not about curing something. This is something. This is something what I meant here. The mind cannot. Although one can be intelligent, that does not necessarily it's wisdom. Wisdom is a wholesome mental state. Wisdom is a wholesome mental state, and it is not unwholesome mental state. It cannot be tainted by unwholesome mental state. So here, when we can able to differentiate what is wholesome action or wholesome speech or wholesome thought, that we can discern it from unwholesome, undemeritorious deeds or thoughts or speech. If you can able to do that, that is wonderful. You come a long way, actually. So with that, if you can do that, that means there's some degree of some degree of discerning factor is there. Now, we come into the Buddhist development. Now, we want to develop as a Buddhist and we want to follow the teachings of the Buddha, which is good. Therefore, now it coming into that, then when we begin to learn about the Buddhism and so on, then here we begin to have a clearer understanding of what the Buddha thought and what is the goal for us, for all of us, so that we can able to free ourselves from this cycle of birth and rebirth. Then here again is the purpose. Is the benefit of following the teachings of the Buddha. So the Buddha give you a purpose, give you a clear purpose that those who follow my teaching, and strive and so on, then one free oneself from this cycle of birth and rebirth. If he strive, so this give you a purpose. So when we learn about the right view, and we learn about the Four Noble Truths, this is again to give us a clear purpose. Instead of running around in samsara, instead of getting attached to all the sensuous thing and become too attached to them, become too bound into them, then we go through the birth and rebirth, sometimes end up in hell, sometimes end up in the woeful states, animal kingdom, and so on. So the Buddha says that, okay, we give you this right view, we give you this goal, we give you this purpose, and for you to end the cycle of birth and rebirth. So these are the steps that you should take. So this is purpose. When we talk about right view, when we talk about the third noble truth, these are purpose. So here, this type of purpose, you have to remind yourself again and again. Because if you don't remind yourself again and again, it's easy for you to get leashed by the world, like the tentacles of the sensual desire will start to grip you again. Like a leash you back into the world. So you got to remind yourself again and again. Sometimes I met with devotees, initially they are keen in the practice, understanding the Dhamma, but then after a while, when they gain money, when they have career and so on, then they forget about the Buddhism. Family becomes important to them. Very attached to the family. Not to say that you are, but become too attached to the family, too attached to the money, too attached to the asset, to the attachment to the worldliness. I've met with friends, since young, they meet with all these friends that over time, slowly they get out from all this Buddhism and so on. So they lost their way. So hopefully all of you here, that you're listening, that we don't lose our way from the path. That is falls under sampajanya. that is fall under Sampajanya because we exercise the wisdom factor to remind ourselves that, hey, follow the teachings of the Buddha. What's the purpose of the teachings of the Buddha? This is wonderful if you can do that. Huh? Now we can bring it down to a notch or two, that towards our everyday life. Towards our everyday life. Sometimes I've seen sometimes Buddhist devotees, before they eat, they will just put their hands together, then they put that together, Then after that, then they put their hands together, then they go chanting inside the. You do not know what they are going through before they eat, Most probably people will go through, they reflect. Okay, I take this food not for beauty or not for pleasure, and so on. Then they remind themselves. But 3 minutes later or 1 minute later, they forget already. Wow, they see everything is so nice in front of them. Wow. They forget already. They forget about what is all this thing. And then sometimes they sit down and they see the food, especially when it comes into dana, a number of people come into dana. Then people know how to make this dish or that cake or that kueh or that this and that. Then they will ask, how you make all this thing? Then the other one will say, I make this thing, the temperature must be like that. You must take it out. You must put it in water. You must do this and do that. Yeah, they are mastery in making cake. The one that we thought that you have to be mastery in your meditation, in your jhana, in your this, but they are mastery in making cake, making tom yum bihun, whatever, They're good at all those things. But nevertheless, it's still wholesome. At least they think about doing dana. I say finally, those things will end up in the monk's table or in the monk's bowl. Finally, but they still thought of doing dana. Still, it's good, not to say it's bad, but it's all they are tainted with a lot of greed and desire is there, right? So here, the Buddha taught us that when we eat, especially for the monks, when we eat, it's not for greed or not for beauty or not for pleasure, not for this and that. Then if you, every now and then, you reflect, then it becomes, in the long run, it becomes incorporate into your mind, and then it becomes so easy with food, you're not so picky with food. And monks needs to be quite easy with food. If it's too picky, then it's very difficult to stay with the devotees or certain devotees. Because unless you have to have that certain devotee will cook a special food for you, then only you can stay. Then other places you cannot go. If you're not so picky, then okay. So for us, we have to reflect all this. This type of food is that not for us to enjoy, not for us to attach to, not for us to this and that. That means also you exercise a benefit. You exercise the purpose. You exercise benefit. You discern what you've been doing in front of you right now. Okay, that is also a kind of discernment. And then the Buddha also taught that, like the four requisites, 4 basic requisites, which is the food, which is the medicine, shelter, and the clothing. These 4 things that you have to reflect. The things that we wear, the things that even the medicine that we use, and so on. Sometimes this medicine also including all our supplements and so on. Or the things that we are using. So here, things that we are using, like for example, also, if you can able to extend it to your shower creamer, to your facial toner and so on, then you begin to reflect, like, is it for beauty or is it really necessary for you? Sometimes you already like 70-year-old already, but you still want to aisu, still feel that you think that you are still beautiful. Then you use all kinds of toner and all that. But well, again, sometimes I say these things too much. Sometimes there are certain ladies posong they Pante always did he say this thing only get so don't want to come already. But nevertheless, these things is help you to discern, to help you when you exercise your wisdom, you exercise to the things that you are using, the things that you are eating, the things that you are wearing, your shelter, and so on, because it helps you to reduce our greed, at least on the theoretical level, just on the pondering level. You ponder on level in the long run, it helps you to reduce your greed, because you can see, you can able to discern what is beneficial to you, what is good for you, and what is not really good for you. So this is all on our everyday practice. So another thing is that sometimes I also mention, like when you go for exercise, and then again you have to reflect, what's the purpose for you to go for do a certain exercise? Is it for the benefit of you want to have healthy, of course, in a way, but healthy for what purpose? Healthy, is it because that you want to enjoy more things in life? Once this you get your shots already from the then after that you want to go travel here and there, to see the world again, and then again is all again our desire. But then if you reflect that, okay, if we for this health benefit, then perhaps I can able to do more dana, I could able to keep my sila, I can able to do more practice, I can do more meditation, I can still able to go for retreat because I have a good health. Now, if you reflect on that, it becomes beneficial, it becomes purposeful to you. That means you exercise the wisdom in your everyday life. Yeah? This is something that you can do. You don't have to. Don't have to wait till you come into retreat only. You do all those things. Yeah. So these things, if you can do it again and again, reflect yourself again and again, and you can be able to discern, it becomes very helpful in the long run. Now, when you come into the meditation, even for that purpose of purpose and benefit, then those things, we exercise it purposefully. We exercise it in order to understand the purpose even more greater, even more deeper. Now we begin by, when we exercise these things during a retreat, we taught you, the teachers usually will teach you to note the intention. To note the intention. If you want to walk, you notice your intention. Then only after that you start walking. You start doing the walking. Then we notice the intention. The intention is good. The intention is wholesome in the sense that you want to walk. You're already aware of the intention. Then you start right step, left step, or lifting, pushing, dropping. And we do it again and again. Here this noticing this intention is important when further development comes in. But in the beginning part, for a new meditator, and you begin to notice the intention, you just notice like intention to walk, intention to walk, intention to walk. Then only you start walking, right step, left, left. If you do in this way, normally and usually for most of the time, if you can do that, you see that there's always a continuity of your mindfulness. At least your mindfulness starts to prolong for a little bit more. And that is important in the beginning of the practice, because this little bit, you're trying to push the mindfulness a little bit more, then it starts to expand. You expand and you will start to get more. This is where your wisdom starts to come in. Now, so you notice the intention you want to walk, something like that. So don't underestimate it. This is something very, very useful for all yogis actually. And then not only just this, sometimes you exercise intention in more areas. For example, you want to reach out to drink the water. Now, this is a purposeful, intentional action. So you notice the intention in the mind. Notice intention to drink, then only you stretching out the hands. Then when you stretch out the hands, you know, stretching. You've noticed the feeling, you notice what is going on, the movement of the hands as you reach the cup. That is also intention. So if you want to go to the toilet at times, then also you notice the intention you want to go to a toilet. Intention you want to go to the room, that intention you want to go to the room. You kind of like purposely exercise it. Just like when you purposely exercise it in your everyday life, this one now it's connected with the meditation object. So you exercise it. So in a deeper aspect of the development of the intention, then you begin to see that how the intention has more than just one intention. Even when you start walking meditation, there's not only just one intention of lifting only. Then after that, later you may see that there's intention in the lifting. Then also when you want the intention to push, there's also an intention of pushing. Then when you want to drop, there's also an intention before you drop. You see a beginning of a movement. A beginning of a movement being seen clearly. And it's good because this time you begin to see the nature of cause and effect. Intention is the cause. Movement is the effect. You begin to see how cause and effect, the conditions are coming in. In a way, when you're able to see that thing also, you also begin to penetrate into the nature of karma that we talk about. Because if not, karma is all in theory only. So now, as you exercise it, you begin to see how karma works, how the intention arises, how the effect takes place after that. So this is important, and you will see that sometimes this nature of this mind and how this body is they are interact together, even right in your rising falling, even right in your in breath out breath, also the same thing. Even before the in breath, before you taking an in breath, the mind already knows it. Then only the in-breath takes place. You want to exhale, out-breath, the mind knows it before it exhales. So to the same thing in the rising and falling. The mind knows it before it even exhaled. Even though we thought that in our everyday life, this inhaling and exhaling, we thought that this is just automatic thing, There's nothing to do with the mind. But when we're actually meditating, you see that all these things are so closely connected to the mind. So closely connected to the mind. Now, even when you go further into the deeper meditation, even in a single in-breath, or you thought that there's a single in-breath or a single out-breath, then next time you begin to see there's a number of out-breath is taking place within a flow, within an outflow, There's a number of out-breath is taking place. That means it's like the whole breath is being staggered into a few movements rather than just one movement. And many times Yogi could see that when the mind become more clearer. Even in the rising and falling, also the same. They don't see only one rising and falling, but they see a staggered of rising and falling, which is the beginning. But when the mind becomes more clearer, they even can see that every moment that the mind wants, every moment of the staggering, every staggered movement is preceded by a mind Then the next movement is also staggered, another, also with another intention, with another mind. After another one, another mind. That means within the rising and the falling, let's say you have a 5 staggered movement inside there, you will also see 5 staggered, 5 moments of the intention, or 5 moments of the mind also is happening in the movement. That means you begin to be able to see into it much more detailed, much more clearer. That all this movement of this rising, falling, or in-breath, out-breath, or a single movement of a finger here is already, mind is already preceding it. Yeah. So a lot of things is happening. Even when you go into deeper aspect of the practice, even before you want to do something, your mind already knows it already. That means even for you to notice a pattern of in-breath, out-breath, let's say, or a pattern of how the rising and falling is going to move. Let's say that this time, the instead of going straight, the rising and falling is going to the slightly to the left a little bit, slightly to the right a little bit. Your mind knows it before it's going to go into the left. The mind knows that it's going to go into the left. It knows that then when the movement comes in, it's going to go into the left. When the mind knows that it's going to go to the right, the mind knows it, then only the rising goes into the right. If your rising is going to go, starts like pressing and compressing inside there, hardening, the mind knows that it's going to go into hardening, compressing, or whichever that is happening slightly, shortly, within a millisecond, it will happen. Sometimes even in your walking, so the same thing, like even before that, your leg, how high that you want to go up, how fast it's going to move, or what is the tension is like, what is the pulling is like, everything is known by the mind before all this characteristic is known. So it means, you see, the intention here, the purpose here is even more minuscule compared to the earlier one, everyday type of reflecting on how we eat, or how we should we eat, and so on. And now when it comes into the practice, everything becomes so minuscule. But that is where you exercise the intent, the wisdom factor into much more further, deeper into it. That is where you also begin to see the different aspect of non-self and so on. So it's interesting, So don't underestimate what you do in your everyday life, when you reflect those things, when you know that this is wholesome, this is unwholesome, and you can see further deeper in your everyday life. That is wonderful, So when it comes into your practice, those things become very supportive for your penetration into a deeper aspect of your practice. So this is on the Sattaka. So there's a lot of things, which of course we still can talk, but when it comes into the meditation time, we talk on the more towards this, we talk on more on these things in the sense of more towards practical aspect of it, especially in the meditation. Whereas this time, these talks, most of you are not in the retreat, then we talk about more general in that sense. And also, of course, a little bit on the meditation too. The suitability, number 2. The suitability here, it means that when you able to know what is right and what is wrong, then you must know how to do it. You must know how to do it, and not only you must know how to do it, you must also, in the sense that you must differentiate what is wholesome and what is more wholesome. Yeah. Not just what is wholesome and what is unwholesome, but what is wholesome and what is more wholesome. Sapaya, suitability. Yeah. And also in a certain sense, you must also be able to know what is unwholesome and what is more unwholesome. Yeah. That also, it's also the wisdom can penetrate into all this unwholesomeness. But you also, of course, whether it's less wholesome or more wholesome, you have to stop both of it. But at least you know which is which, So the mind can able to penetrate through for this one. So sapaya here, for example, take for example, you want to go for exercise, and you know that it's good health, and you know that it is helpful, and you know that it is good for your meditation, and you have a wholesome purpose. You have a good wholesome purpose for it. That is good. That is wonderful. You know that exercise is for you. Is that? But then you also must know the limit of your body too. How far can you go? How much can you do? People, you see that some people, they do the yoga. They do your yoga. They do the headstand. They do their leg is on the top. The head is on the bottom. Then you never know how to start to do yoga. Then you also want to do headstand. Oh. Then this thing is when it happens, when it happens, then you're going to injure yourself, which is what I'm talking here. This is something very true. Before I was a monk, there was one monk, there was another monk, which I got to know of. Of course, he also did something about on his yoga and all that. Then after that, he did a headstand. Then he did it wrongly. Luckily, he didn't break the neck, but he has some injury in the neck. So I have to drive him to a hospital, to go and look or get to the doctor and so on, because of wrongly practiced, wrongly done the yoga. So if you cannot, you must know where your limit is, to know what is suitable to you and what is not suitable to you. Then here is that you know that this certain exercise I can do it, this certain exercise I cannot do it. Sometimes when I do exercise, I see, wow, in the internet, I see people can stretch so well, pull here, pull there. The head can touch the knee. I mean the legs are straight now, but it can touch the knee. Here I bend. My goodness, it's still so far away to the knee. At that time when I and Saidor, when Saidor Nyaponika, usually when he comes to KL, we will go for walks, in the Taman Tun there. And then there's one teacher. When you look at him, when he walks, he's like the walk also very unbalanced. Then body also is a bit like slanted already. He's about 70 something, I would say, bend something, then he walk also, you can see that he's almost going to fall. But when he starts to doing his qigong, my goodness, he's so graceful because he has done it so many years. So many years we have seen him. He can do it so graceful. And when he can do it so graceful, his head can able to touch the knees, and also his palms he can able to touch on the floor with the leg is straight. Oh, when I walk nearby and Saidor, both of us feel so ashamed, paiseh. Here we are in the world, relatively good health, but we cannot do what he is doing. I say, Saidor, let us go faster. Be ashamed, you know. Yes. So, those things we cannot do. We cannot do because we don't exercise them frequently. Of course, if we exercise it frequently, perhaps we could able to do. So you must know our limit. Where is our suitability? Just like, for example, what are the food that you're supposed to eat? Which one is good for you? Which one is not good for you? But then sometimes suitability and so on becomes, instead of what is wholesome, what is suitable to you, it becomes what is we got to be careful of the greed behind it and the attachment towards it. Sometimes what is suitable because we are afraid of kiasi, afraid of kiasi, afraid to die. Some people, they have their whole fridge full of supplements. From the hair, they eat everything from the hair right to the toes. They got supplement for it. Like that, no need to die like that. I've seen people like that become sometimes, maybe, perhaps, I do not know, perhaps maybe too much. So you must see what is suitable to you. What shelter is suitable to you. Sometimes what climate is suitable to you, and so on. So this one, it's suitability because it helps you in your quest. It helps you in your mental development in that sense. So suitability in that sense. But when we come into meditation, also we must know that what is suitable to us and what is not suitable to us also. That we must have to exercise certain degree of wisdom. Take, for example, sitting and walking. Now, sometimes people don't equate this walking meditation to be as equivalent to sitting meditation. Most of the time, yogis don't do that. If they are not being taught, then they will do a lot of sitting. And they totally neglect walking. So when they keep on sitting and sitting and sitting, sometimes these meditators, and they sit until the mind become so quiet, so blank, so calming, so calm. Everything become like void already inside there. They can sit there for 2 or 3 hours, where they thought that is good. So this time, the sitting meditation is not suitable already. It's not suitable even to your samatha meditator too. Becomes nothing. Even your nimitta also gone. This time, it's just too much concentration already. So that means the sitting meditation is not good. You cannot arouse any more wisdom. Cannot arouse any more mindfulness. Instead, that it arouses more the hindrances, because when the quietness for too long comes in, the sleepiness starts to come in, or the drowsiness starts to come in. So you have to know that this time that sitting meditation is not good. Then it's good that to get up to do the walking meditation. And sometimes some yogis want to, because the walking meditation is good, they want to extend it for another 1 more hour. I think this is also not good, because you will begin to tire the body. When you begin to tire the body after you you go into a sitting meditation, what are you going to get? Then it goes into sleepiness, because the body is too tired. When the body is too tired also, when you go into walking meditation too much, then because of the tiredness, it makes the mindfulness not clear. Then when it's not clear, things are not clear, then all the restless mind will start come in. So also you cannot. So you must kind of like know when is the right time for you to sit. Usually we request the yogi to sit 1 hour walk, 1 hour sit. Even your sitting is good, try not to prolong it too much. If your walking is good also, try not to prolong it too much. Give you 5-10 minutes, maybe it's okay. But more than that, usually in the retreat, it's not so good. But at home, when you're meditating, it's a different game because you're not really fully in the retreat for throughout the whole day. At home, you meditate, even you want to sit for 2 hours, it's not a problem because after that you get up, you begin to open up your fridge already, you begin to have lunch, you want to go for work or you do this and you go for exercise or whatever that you are doing, you're already not in a state of meditating. But in a retreat, you are in the whole day that you have to meditate. You not only have to be mindful and be sharp and be alert, but you have to maintain that mindfulness throughout the whole day. So you must not over push it. So this one is in a way is a suitability. Wait, is it no sound right now? Can you hear? Sorry, no sound. Okay, got sound now. All right. Now, in the suitability also, sometimes also there are yogis, when it comes into the meditation, then you must do the things like really for the meditation already. You don't have much time to do for other things. Although you may be in the retreat for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 1 month or 2 months and so on, you don't have much time to do other things. And we don't encourage you to, for me, I don't encourage you to do other things. And so usually the Mahasi method, they don't encourage you to do other things, which is may not be suitable during in the retreat. For example, there are yogis who love to chant. They love to chant because at home they chant a lot. They can chant 1 hour, 2 hours. They are like a pro in the chanting, So sometimes they when they come into a retreat, they also like to do all this chanting a lot. Chant for 1 hour, 2 hours only, they want to do chanting. And they want to do meditation, sorry. Then by the time you start to do meditation, by the time you sit down and then your chanting it doesn't stop there. It will carry forward to your sitting and then the whole chanting is still going on. If it's not chanting because of your chanting just now, you've done a lot of chanting, the mind goes into a lot of thinking, a lot of restless mind. Then after that, you want to calm down. Sometimes it's not necessary for us to do that. If you do a short chanting, then it's okay. Maybe like 5-10 minutes, maybe it's good because it helps to reduce the restless mind and it concentrate on the chanting. Even the metta chanting is usually like at night that you all do the ahang ave rohomi. Those things also actually is not encouraged because it's melodious. Sometimes some yogis when they want to sit down, rising, falling, then the background ahang ave rohomi na 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 homi, rising, falling abhyapa. Oh, it's very difficult to meditate. That's why I don't really encourage yogis to do all those things. You don't see its effect if you're a beginner meditator. If you're a more advanced meditator, these things can disturb. These things can disturb. All these melodious things, you got to put it all aside. If not, it really disturb your meditation. Not to say that it is no good, it's not unwholesome, or it's not good. It is not necessary during a retreat. Other words, it's not suitable because it affects the meditation. Now, some people may not be affected so much. Some people affected by it. The same person also, it may affect you this time, but it may not affect you another time. Also, then also sometimes you have to change your technique and your ways and this one and so on. Suitability also will come into a deeper when we are meditating. That means suitable. You must not just a suitable object, but here an object that will give rise to more mindfulness, more clarity to you. That is to say, for example, that day during in the mindfulness, I said the predominancy of an object. So when there's predominancy of the object, also is also when you know that when two objects is there, they are clear, but one is more clearer, then with the understanding that you have, you push the mind towards a more clearer object. Even though the more clearer object is the object that you don't really like, maybe your pain, for example, you can see your rising and falling is clear, but your pain is become more clearer than the rising and falling, but you don't like the rising and falling. You don't like the pain because the pain is, as you all know, like it's disturbing to you, and you thought that, no, you should exercise your wisdom that this time you have to pay attention to the pain clearer, see it as best as you can in order for the development to take place. So this is, and again, suitability in the sense of the meditation object. So there are many things, suitability. You have to exercise, whether you are sometimes, some people like, they exercise certain suitability in the sense that they open the door, close the door, and they don't want to disturb other yogis. They open it softly, open it carefully. But then there are some yogis also, they don't care. They don't care. But sometimes there are certain yogis, they are over concerned about others, rather for themselves. Then after that, they meditate a little bit. They're afraid that just they make a little bit of sound. They're afraid that the next door, not next door, their neighbors in the next meditation cushion may get disturbed. They keep on thinking about others. I don't know, after I move here, after I got a little bit of sound, don't know whether she can get angry with me or not. If I move here, after I make another sound, maybe she get angry with me again. I become over too concerned already. That one, you got to limit yourself from there. Because there are yogis like that, because they are over too caring for others in a certain way, and then they forget about their own meditation. They become very anxiety, become very stressful. Then of course there are also other yogis that don't care, don't bother. They come into the meditation hall and they get all their plastic bag things. They want to ransack the plastic. Shisha, 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 shisha. Everybody also cannot meditate, and they don't care. Sometimes some people, as you grow older, their hearing is not so good. To them, no sound and nothing much, but for everybody with a normal hearing was so loud. So sometimes you're 70, 80, when the hearing gets this one. So although with that, of course, we also sometimes you have to exercise some degree of our wisdom. What is suitable, what is not suitable. So all these things, it helps a yogi to exercise more wisdom, even in our everyday life. So see what is suitable to you, what is suitable food to you, what is not suitable food to you, what is a suitable shelter to you, what is not suitable shelter to you, what is suitable climate, not suitable climate, what is a suitable practice, what is not suitable practice. All these things to see it clearly. So these things I'll talk here. Then next week on Monday again, I'll speak more on the other two, because the third one also has got a lot of things to talk about. All right, that's it for tonight. And on Friday, we have as usual a Q&A session, and the phone number is on the chat. It's a new number. It's not the old. It's a 012 number. Okay. All right.